Sometimes the greatest stories are hidden in the most remote places on Earth. Deep in the Sahara Desert, painted on a stone wall, there's this incredible figure that has sparked debate for decades. It's a tale of discovery, a controversial myth, and our modern quest to understand the real meaning behind an ancient masterpiece.
And here she is. This is the running horned woman. Just look at the energy, the motion in this painting. She's powerful, she's graceful, and she is thousands of years old. She's the heart of the mystery we're diving into today.
And right away, she makes you ask, who was she? A goddess? A priestess performing some ancient ritual? And who were the people who created this stunning image? Well, to even begin to find the answers, we have to go to the place she was found.
Her story is completely tied to the landscape. This isn't just some random cave painting. She's part of a massive open-air gallery that has stood for millennia.
Welcome to Tassili N'Ajjer. It's this huge plateau in the Algerian Sahara. Today, it's one of the driest places on the planet, but the geology here is incredible. Millennia of erosion have carved out thousands of natural rock shelters, creating the perfect canvases for ancient artists.
And when I say huge, I mean it. The Tassili N'Ajjer National Park covers a mind-boggling 80,000 square kilometers. To put that in perspective, that's bigger than the entire country of Ireland, all tucked away in this incredibly remote part of North Africa.
Even the name tells you something important. In the local Tomahawk language, it means Plateau of the Ajjer people. This has always been a place with deep cultural roots for the indigenous Tuareg people who've lived here for generations.
So the local Tuareg people, they always knew about this incredible art. But the story of how it became famous around the world, well, that really kicks off in the 20th century with the arrival of European explorers.
People started taking note in the late 1800s, but the person who really put this place on the map was a French archaeologist named Henri Lot. His massive expedition in the 1950s led to a best-selling book that just blew everyone's minds and made Tassili N'Ajjer world famous.
And with all that new fame came a really powerful and really influential theory about where this art came from. Lohé's interpretation would basically define how the world saw this art for years to come.
Lahote looked at the running horned woman and saw echoes of another great civilization. He suggested she might be a priestess connected to the Egyptian goddess Isis. For him, art this sophisticated had to be linked to a known, established powerhouse like ancient Egypt.
Now, this idea didn't just come out of nowhere. Lahote was a student of a very influential figure, Henri Breuil. Breuil had this whole theory that amazing African art like the White Lady in Namibia couldn't have been made by indigenous Africans. He thought it had to have been created by visitors from somewhere else. It was a really common colonial-era mindset, this idea that great art just couldn't originate within Africa.
So you have this really neat theory, right? It connects these two incredible ancient cultures. But there was a huge problem with it. The whole thing was basically propped up by a lie.
That's right. A key piece of evidence that was used to support this whole Egyptian connection, it turned out to be a total hoax. And once that came to light, the whole theory just started to fall apart.
So here's what happened. Some of the people on Lahote's own team actually faked copies of other paintings, adding details to make them look more Egyptian, and they passed them off as the real deal. Lahote accepted them, and it propped up his theory. Once this was all exposed, it helped to totally discredit that whole school of thought, which today is pretty widely seen as a product of racist colonial bias.
And this really lays out the two competing ideas perfectly. The whole story changed. It went from this narrative of outside influence, the idea that it had to have come from somewhere else, to our modern view that this was a totally unique, homegrown, indigenous African creation, born out of local beliefs and local rituals.
Okay, so if she isn't some version of an Egyptian goddess, then who is she? To figure that out, scholars today are looking at the painting itself, searching for clues to tell a much more authentic story. And the real clues are all in the details. The horns, for example, that's probably not something you'd wear on a normal Tuesday. The dots all over her body, they likely represent ritual, body paint, or scarification. And her armlets and garters look like attire for a dance or ceremony. But the biggest clue? She was painted in this remote, hard-to-reach shelter, not a place where people lived. All signs point to her being a symbolic figure, a goddess or a priestess, in the middle of a sacred ceremony. Now, the running horned woman is just one piece of this incredible puzzle. The whole Tassili N'Ajjer Plateau is one of the most important rock art sites in the entire world.
And it's a legacy that is unbelievably fragile.
Just let this number sink in for a second. 15,000. More than 15,000 paintings and engravings have been cataloged here. It's one of the biggest libraries of early human history on the planet, written right onto the rock.
And this right here really shows you the gap between what we think of and what's actually there. On the left, you've got that famous, colorful reproduction we all know. But on the right, that's the reality of the painting today. A faint, delicate image that's barely hanging on after thousands of years.
So what caused all this damage? Well, ironically, it was the process of discovery itself. To make the colors pop for photographs, early explorers would just throw water on the rock, which caused catastrophic, irreversible fading. And when you add modern vandalism and looting to that, you realize this global treasure is in serious, serious danger.
Thankfully, people are fighting to protect this incredible heritage. The entire area is now a national park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and a biosphere reserve. Those are all absolutely critical layers of protection that are helping it survive.
Let's just spend a second with this image. This is her, as she really is today. Faded, yes, but still running, still powerful. She's a silent witness to thousands of years of human history, telling a story that we almost got completely and totally wrong.
You see, the story of the Running Horned Woman is so much more than just art history. It's a powerful reminder to always question the first story we're told, and it leaves you with a really big question. How many other stories from our shared past have we misunderstood because they were first told through a distorted lens